her dad married John Wick. What?
I'm just processing a lot right now, and you're being a little aggressive.
Honey, get a gun and let's go get the kids.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2025 action comedy Guns Up. The film is written and directed by Edward Drake and it stars Kevin James, Christina Ricci, we have Louise Guzman, Joey Diaz, Melissa Leo and Timothy V. Murphy. Now the film follows Kevin James's character Ray Hayes. We meet him, is it a turning point in his life? He's a cop, but he wants the best for his family. So he asks for a job from the local mob boss, played by Melissa Leo, Michael she's called. She's a mob boss who's got a lot of honour, she likes to do things the right way, and he agrees to work with her under certain conditions. And one of those conditions is when he's got enough money to kind of buy what he wants to buy, which is a diner with his wife, he's out, and she's very happy with that. She agrees. He jumps forward 5 years. He's been working for her for 5 years. He's no longer a cop. He's just basically their enforcer, really, their muscle. And she is taken out by a competitor, Lonnie, a rival boss. So while he now wants to get out Kevin James's character Ray, because he's got the money he needs for his diner, he can't because of this new boss. So he has to pull a job in order to kind of get him out of the business, but the job goes sideways, putting himself and his family in direct danger. Right, what are my thoughts on Guns Up? Well, again, this is one of those films that on the surface, when you look at it, you kind of like, this is not going to be not going to be good, really. And while I'm not here to tell you that this is Film of the Year contender by any stretch of the imagination, because it really isn't, it's a perfectly adequate and entertaining action comedy. The premise is ridiculous, of course it is. There are things that happen in this film that you'll be kind of, really? There's a twist that happens late in the film that is ridiculous. But the whole premise here is a bit daft and a bit silly. If you can kind of buy into the film and, click your brain off a little bit and not worry too much about the finer details, there's an entertaining film underneath all that. Kevin James, I've always liked Kevin James. Ever since King of Queens sort of thing. I think he's a very likeable actor stroke performer. And in my eyes, you can do roles like this because, he is a legitimate tough guy, really. He used to be a very talented wrestler. If you've seen that film he made where he becomes a UFC fighter, which I think is his best film, one of my favourites that he's done for sure. He's very, very good in that. So he can handle physical roles when they're given them to him. And, he does make a believable tough guy in this. But he is not a one-dimensional tough guy. He is essentially a family man at heart. He's got a wife and 2 children at home. His wife's played by Christina Ricci. So he is really just going out and doing what he does so that he can provide for his family. And then it's one of those films that when it kind of starts, when things kind of go wrong in this film, you're kind of at the stage where you're like, this is getting a bit silly now. This is getting a bit stretching my ability to suspend disbelief now. But it never loses you as an audience member. You still feel fairly engaged because the characters are made, for the most part, quite likable. There's all the people that generally he has interactions with, Kevin James, the people that he's been working with for 5 years, like this mob family, and a mob family that tries to, I suppose, do things the honourable way, even though they're still criminals at the end of the day. So you've got him interacting with people like Louise Guzman, who is always fun and entertaining in when he does roles like this. He's kind of quite funny and amusing in this. You've got another character, I think he's Francis Cronlin is called, he plays Danny, who is like an Irish person that works with this family. He's almost like Kevin James' comedy sidekick at times. So all the characters kind of add something here. They're not like just throwaway characters. They've all been kind of fleshed out a little bit. They all feel like they've built relationships over 5 years. They feel like there's a bit of a bond there. For me, I think it lost me a little bit in regards to the believability factor when the big twist comes later in the film. His family's in direct danger, and there's a twist happens, and it's kind of like, oh, right, okay, where did this come from, sort of thing. Why was this not a thing earlier? Why was this not known earlier by certain characters? And obviously I can't say a great deal more because I don't want to spoil it, but to be fair, the trailer does a pretty good job of doing that anyway. But the action is very, very competently done here. There's a couple of action scenes that are a bit too dark for my liking, so you can't really see a great deal. Don't know if that was done for a conscious reason. Maybe the choreography wasn't brilliant, or I don't know. But there was certainly a couple that spring to mind that definitely needed better lighting. But the gunplay is all done pretty well. You've got a solid villain played by Timothy V. Murphy. Plays like his rival mob boss who's got like a patch on his eye that it becomes relevant in the film later on. It's... You get a lot of these films nowadays, where action comedies, like with families involved, where you've got characters that are actually, badasses and the family know nothing about it, sort of thing, and, all the past catches up with them and all the family get tied up in it. I mean, they're a dime a dozen these days, you know what I mean? We had that one recently with Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz, and then you've got quite a few with Mark Wahlberg. I mean, they come out all the time, really. So this is one that kind of fits in that pack, shuffles its way in there. It's not a great deal better, and certainly not worse than most of those that I've seen, if I'm being honest. Is this one of those films you're going to watch and then be absolutely overjoyed that you've seen it afterwards? No, but if you're one of these people that puts on a film hoping it's going to be the best thing you've ever seen, then you probably are disappointed quite a lot. There are films out there that are perfectly serviceable, fairly entertaining, if a little bit ridiculous. And this does that reasonably well, in my opinion. It's a 6 out of 10 for me. It needed to be a little bit more just to get up to 7, but it wasn't a million miles away from getting a 7, in my opinion. It was perfectly serviceable. So, yeah, if it sounds interesting to you, you like half-decent action comedies with ridiculous premises, then check this one out. You might enjoy it. So thanks for watching. I will be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.